Thank you so much. So very good afternoon to each one of you. A very diversified panel, I must say. I think just reflecting what India is about. And it's personally an honor to kind of speak or moderate on a session which is very important given where India is currently. And I think I've been asked to moderate on a topic of CFOs and the Bharat Innovation. And it's a privilege because it is a topic which is very impactful at the right time. And I also, I think, thank the organizers to weave this word Bharat in instead of India, because that's where the next wave of growth will come. And personally, I think we're covering a topic which is at an intersection of finance, innovation, and India's next growth chapter, or rather the inclusive growth chapter in a sense, right? So if you look at what's happening to India, we are the North Star of global economies, growing at a very good GDP growth rate. And inshallah, in times to come also, with the demographic dividend which we have, the trajectory looks very good and very positive. And if you look at the deeper markets, which is the tier 2 or the tier 3 cities, lots of growth is coming from there. If you look at the number of e-commerce customers, if you look at the number of demat accounts which are getting opened, the number of UPI transactions, the entire engine is working to propel India to the next level. Given that context, what's happening in the deeper markets, innovation is the key, which is leading the differentiations. I was surprised to read a metric where the number of registrations of the startups in tier 2, tier 3 cities are at ever high in the sense. And if you talk about the innovation in the deeper markets, from the agri-tech to the health to the EV, so a lot of smaller towns are becoming hubs of innovations as we go forward into the India story. And the velocity of change has been huge. I'm sure all of you will agree. In the last 10 years, I mean, we have seen amazing amount of technology intervention which has happened in various business models, which is retail, customers, B2B models also. And given at this inflection point where the velocity has kind of been ever growing, the role of the CFO also has been evolving, so as to speak, from a traditional mindset to a growth mindset and seeing what you can do on the technology side. And it becomes very difficult. I mean, you won't believe that when I do my annual budgets, the most difficult chapter to sign on is on the IT budget, because it's very difficult to measure the ROI on the investment projects which we run through. I think with that background, where the CFO's role is changing and they are kind of getting more deeper into more strategic interfaces with the business and evaluating the dollar spends on the IT, let me welcome all the panelists, and I request them to introduce about themselves, what they've done in the past. I think we all should take enrich ourselves with the knowledge which they bring on the dais. I think not from the current experience, but from the past experiences also. So I'll hand over to the panel members, and I request you to introduce yourself briefly about your company, what they do. And as you introduce, if you can also throw some nuggets on how the role of a CFO has changed in the last 5 years and how innovation is making you think differently.
Hello everyone. My name is Khyati Maheshwari. I'm currently the CFO at Moet, Hennessy. Over past few years, I have worked with various different industry and sectors. One thing which has been common across all sectors, companies, industries has been transformation. Whether we call it digital transformation, whether we call it business transformation, all put together, I think this transformation completely changes the role of how finance functions in any organization. From a senior leadership as well, I believe the traditional CFO's role has now enlarged so much to strategic decision making, to adapting, integration, any kind of transformation, digitization, promoting. Because I think the foundation of any organization is your financial stability, which is what we bring on the table. But enriching and embracing technology moving forward and ensuring that we are very closer to the market dynamics and incorporating that in our day-to-day business dynamics is what has been the key role of a lot of CFOs and the entire finance function, which is of great strength, which is, I think, very closely partnering, co-piloting with your commercial or your strategic business decision-making functions. So yeah, that's I think, about me, what I have done in over all these years, and I continue to do that. Over to you.
Thanks,
Thanks, Khyati. Hi, good afternoon. This is Girish Goenka. I'm CFO with Piramal Realty, having around 2.5 decades of experience in various finance fields. Was lucky enough to work with some good companies in India. Prior to Piramal, I was with Godrej, Mahindra, Gammon, and some other plastic-related firms as well. I think very well covered by Khyati on the change or the role change announcement of CFOs. I think what I really feel is gone are those days when a CFO was sitting, or the finance team was sitting in a corner office, and we were considered more of a compliances and accounts and audit guys. I think that part is largely not even 25-30% of a profile of a CFO largely. I think most of the finance people would agree on that side. Right now, I'm spending not more than 10 to 15% of my time on the core function, that is accounting and audit. My 70, 80, 90% of the time is more on future strategy, business, technology. That's generally where most of the times are going on. Today, in any business function, we are seen as a shadow CEO. Any decision which is to be taken does not get approved till the time it is what we call blessed by a CFO. So till the time we don't agree on that, so it does not happen. And why a blessing of CFO is required? Because we are the people who are very close to the numbers, the past and the future. So that's where I feel the role of a CFO is typically changing. You cannot just get in the books and see what has happened in the past, or just what we call postmortem. We have to see the numbers, and basis that number, we have to prepare a future forecast and enable future decision making. And that's where the technology plays a very important role. So I feel a CFO's role right now is not only about the past, it's about the future. And then the technology plays a very, very, very important role for you to enable, analyze the data and then take strategic decisions at the same. Thank you.
Thanks, Girish.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. It was a loaded question. So first, let me introduce myself. I'm Pulkit Goyal, CFO of Honeywell Automation India, and with Honeywell for around 3.5 years. I'm an all-through diversified industrial conglomerate person, 20 years of experience. Before that, I was with ThyssenKrupp, some people call it ThyssenKrupp, around 9 years. Before that, I was with ArcelorMittal Group company. So I would say all through with diversified industrial conglomerates. Gives me a very different experience from projects, products, services to software. Many people may think, oh, really manufacturing companies do softwares, but actually we do. Now, what I've done, I would say most of my professional life I've spent on transformation, growth, and talent initiatives. To answer the other part of the question, Rakesh, I really reflect a lot on this question because this is always the theme. Our role has changed and a lot of things have gotten added to what CFO was doing in the past. I would sum it up in this way that CFO's role has changed in such a way that we are supposed to think outside of the books. And the theme, as the theme says, innovation. If I kind of reflect on the core accounting principles as a chartered accountant from India that I've learned, one of the things, and I'm sure you will also recall, is prudence. Now, prudence always means, to err on the side of understating, your revenues, while of course looking at, your liabilities and expenses, more conservatively. Now, imagine, a CFO has been, or the finance person or accountant who has been trained on these accounting principles, so difficult to think about innovation. So I think I would put it this way, that really thinking outside of a balance sheet and P&L and the books is what, bringing the new generation CFO.
Yeah. Nithya.
Yeah, hi. Nithya Balasubramanian, CFO IKS Health. IKS Health actually offers technology and services, so leveraging India's human capital and tech capital to be able to solve for healthcare issues in the US. So I was thinking about this question yesterday, and one of the questions that popped into my mind was, why are we talking about it now?
Right.
What has really changed that we need to talk about how the CFO role is changing? And see, I think it's because innovation has actually changed. Our definition of innovation has actually changed, right? So we are no longer just the body shop for developed economies. We are no longer talking incremental innovation or jugaad innovation. Again, we all love jugaad innovation, right? Nothing against it. But what we're now truly talking about is genuinely transformative innovation. We are talking about first in the world kind of innovation. So India is now trying to actually it's actually trying to leapfrog from, basic incremental innovation to genuine value-adding innovation. Think about China, right? Again, China evokes some strong opinions, but I think one thing they have successfully done is this transformation from being a manufacturing hub of the world to now actually challenging most of the developed economies in terms of innovation.
Right.
And that's the transition that India now needs to achieve. And what does this mean for the CFO? You're now talking about very, very risky investments. You're talking about investments which require a very long gestation period. You're looking for patient risk capital and patient investors. So all of this is very, very different from how we used to think about innovation before, and that's the reason the CFO role has actually changed, right? You're now no longer just the traditional financial gatekeeper. You're actually a strategic partner in your ability to think through the ROI of such a long-term investment. You're a strategic partner in your ability to be able to articulate the vision and your objective that you're going after. So I think in that context, the CFO role is for sure very, very different from what it used to be earlier.
Yeah.
And I think looking at the kind of eclectic experience even this panel has, you're no longer talking about the CFO being an accountant or a controller.
Right.
So you've genuinely stepped up, therefore, to be able to be a partner to the board and the CEO. Thank you.
Very well said.
Hi, my name is Nitin Khanna, CFO of Chalet Hotels. In this company for last 10 months. I've been in MNCs, almost 3 decades of experience, MNCs 50%, and working very closely with the Indian promoters and board for the balance part. I think from a role of CFO, I would, for me, I'll talk about a little accretive to what other panel members have said. I think the CFO role is now a value architect, and it encompasses everything. I can't say that I can't look outside the balance sheet. I have to find answers within the balance sheet as well. So if I look at my 3 decades of experience, and I see the role, how it is changing. For the first 10 years, I would say I was working as a business partner, because we used to say the CFO is not an accountant, is working as a business partner. I think the second decade was more around working along with the business. We're talking about tech. I think tech has been there, almost 2 decades back, and we started talking about tech innovation long back. I think this decade we are talking about resilient, how your balance sheet can be resilient, how you can have scalability in the operations, how you can look at geopolitics. You started coming out of risk management to enterprise risk management. It's not only basic risk management, but looking at enterprise, industrial risk management. You're no longer talking about only compliances. You're working with the government to make sure that there is a fairness in the regulation. It's prospective regulation and not a retrospective regulation. You started talking about how you can look at cybersecurity is a little different from innovation. So we'll start talking about tech, how tech can help you, but now you're looking from external to internal as well. How cybersecurity can be developed, and not only for your company, but as an industry as a whole. So the role has slowly got changed, not internally focused, but externally focused. I don't remember, 20 years back, how strong my investor relationship would have been. How I can engage with my investor, talking about the industry and, what are the risks which are coming in. Regulations becoming more transparent. CFOs can't think about, or the chartered accountants, as we rightly said, you plan something, so there's no longer planning. It as transparent as, you have yesterday signed, in a term sheet, tomorrow you have to, put it in the stock exchange. So it's become that transparent. So dealing with dynamism is very important, and there's a reason I said the CFO role has become a value architect rather than the traditional, I think whatever my panel members talked about.
Yeah. Nitin, thanks. So I think we heard from the panelists, and I think it sets up a context for a very insightful discussion. I don't know how much time has Sanjay given us for this. Sanjay, I mean, with the diversified experience we have, I thought it could have been good if we had more time, but we'll try to do justice to the topic which has been given to us and the experience which my panel members brings to the table. So the way we'll run this session, if all of you are okay, I'll kind of go randomly, not in the particular order of what you're sitting, and we'll try to engage and give insights into practical, what we have done in the real-time scenario so that there is a context to what's happening. And if we can spare another 10 minutes for the audience to ask Q&A from the lovely panel members which we have, it'll be great. So Sanjay, don't kill us. I know we're holding the people for before lunch, but we'll try to optimize the time. So let me start from Nithya, because Nithya kind of very nicely articulated that question is maybe why we're asking it now. I think the velocity of change has been very high, and as she rightly said, the innovation levers have been compounded across various facets, whether it's regulations, compliances, customer touch points, customer deliveries, the feedback to the investors. So I think the entire environment has seen a lot of technology innovation which has been coming in. So Nithya, your company is into healthcare, and you are providing offshore services to the US health patients and everything. So how do you weave in innovation in the healthcare delivery models? It will be good to have those insights. And also, as you evaluate, it's very difficult at times, we are victims of benchmarking. Sometimes your peers must be doing something in US or in Europe, and you try to emulate or try to be best in class. How do you kind of keep the clutter out and be focused on what you want to do as an entity and evaluate the ROI on those spends in the sense? So it would be good if you can give a healthcare perspective to the audience sitting here.
So, we work in the US healthcare space, but I think what's probably more relevant for the audience is India and the domestic demand for healthcare. So I think when it comes to innovation in healthcare, I think it's opportunities galore. Yeah. Let's look at the 4 cogs in healthcare value chain, right? You've got the payers or the insurers, you've got the providers or the physicians, you've got pharma, and then you've got the patients. Right. Payer, unfortunately, tends to be a little less relevant in India now. My personal pet peeve is that, I would love to see that market develop and grow a lot more. But we'll keep that aside for this conversation. So if you look at the provider market or the physician market, I think AI can genuinely do magic there in terms of improving access for healthcare. There are lots of tools that are now available, some of which we deploy now for our US customers, which are able to fast-track diagnosis. In radiology, for instance, we've got tools which are able to parse through these radiology images very, very quickly and therefore be able to improve the productivity of the radiologist to such an extent that it could potentially solve for the gap in these kind of talent that's now not available in Tier 2, Tier 3 towns. So a lot of solutions, therefore, in terms of diagnosis as well as healthcare delivery. Looking at drug development and pharma, again, massive, massive scope. I think AI models are now actually able to accurately predict protein-protein interactions and therefore be able to, again, get the drugs into the clinic much faster than before. Right. A lot of you will actually be surprised to know that the first ever antibody drug which is approved for COVID, right? All of us tracked COVID and vaccines really well. But the first antibody that was approved for COVID was actually on the back of an AI tool. The development was done on back of an AI tool. It got into the clinic and got an approval 7 months after COVID actually picked up pace. Yeah. That's how quickly you can actually get drugs to the market. Right. And again, in an India context where, again, so far we have been working on incremental innovation, I think AI is a massive leveler. We should be able to leverage these tools to start pushing on drug discovery in India for India. Right. There are a lot of rare diseases that don't get enough attention. Right? And looking at the patient, again, lots of wearable devices, monitoring devices, patient compliance tool, all of which can be enabled by AI, and AI actually helps you in scalability, right? Significant scalability. So for our population of 1.4 billion people, we genuinely need to be able to leverage technology to achieve the patient healthcare outcomes that we want. Right. Now that being said, it's not without risk, right? AI does come with risk. When it comes to healthcare especially, you need to be considerate about patient data security, to be considerate about the unfortunate biases that tend to creep into AI because of the data sets tend to have biases, right? And that unfortunately creeps into the decision making of AI tools as well. But that being said, I don't think any of these risks need to be a bottleneck. It's only about being mindful of how we actually create these tools. So I think your question was also about when we think about applying solutions, how do we remain focused, and how do we remain focused in terms of the ROI? Was that part of your question?
Yeah.
See, I think ROI has become a lot more complicated, to my earlier point around, given that the gestation period is now so much longer. It's not about investing this year to be able to put that tool out there and see revenues there, right? So it requires a lot more patience. It requires a lot more long-term thinking. It requires the C-suite to be able to see the vision of what you could potentially do 3 years from now, 5 years from now, and therefore be able to communicate to all the stakeholders, not just the investor, but also the customer, the kind of outcome that you're able to deliver for them. So I think at IKS, at least, one of our founding principles or guiding principles has always been that we want to solve for outcomes. It's not about that specific activity or that specific task that you're trying to deliver. It's about what is it that the customer cares about. The customer cares about maximizing revenue, maximizing productivity of the physician. So as long as you're able to articulate the vision in such a manner that you're able to solve for the outcome that people care about, then I think it's easier to remain focused and not get distracted.
Yeah. This is a follow-up question. So when you look at your own entity and you want to kind of twist the business model towards the Indian services, I mean, how long will you think you'll take to get there when you have a share from India, which is 20% of your revenue in the sense? Just to know how much is India lagging behind in terms of your offerings, what you do to the international
I think
market?
the market maturity in terms of insurance, and therefore that's what is holding us back, right? If you compare US and India, the biggest difference in the two healthcare market structures is the fact that you actually have both outpatient care as well as inpatient care fully covered for by insurance.
Right.
In India, unfortunately, our insurance coverage actually tends to be only for catastrophic coverage. Right? If you get hospitalized, most people tend to have insurance.
Yeah.
So the biggest difference, therefore, is there you actually have a payer who's able to look through the entire workflow and therefore demand the kind of quality that's required in each part of the workflow.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that is lacking in India, right? Which is why today maybe our services are not relevant for the India market. But that being said, I think this is definitely a growing market.
Right.
We have now seen a lot of companies now mature and reach a scale where some of them are even listed now. You're talking about multiple listed entities now. So I genuinely do believe that this market will pick up. And for various reasons, healthcare is also becoming more expensive in India.
Yeah.
So it started to pinch the pocket. So I think the demand for insurance will also pick up.
Sure.
I think once that does and we start to see a lot more insurance coverage kick in, at that point of time, we'll be more than happy to look at India as a market as well, because we are leveraging India human capital and tech capital.
Interesting. Thanks for the insights. So maybe let me cut across sectors and go from health to our friend at Piramal Realty, Girish. Smart homes, innovation beyond. So what's happening at Piramal Realty, and how are you seeing innovation weaving in, and how are you kind of solving solutions for the entity as such?
Right. So I think realty, real estate, homes, I think this is one of the biggest buying decision a customer will take in his life. So go back pre-COVID, a customer will visit, we as a customer will go to any house, visit at least 7-8 times before finalizing a house. COVID came in, no one was allowed to step out, but the maximum number of sale happened during COVID period, right? The sales pre-COVID versus post-COVID was high. How did it happen? It was all because of the technology. Persons sitting in US, various part of the world, was able to see a house, feel the house, and digitally make the payment and take even the delivery of the house digitally.
Yeah.
So for pre-COVID, it was difficult even to imagine that a house can be sold like a product on Blinkit or a Swiggy, but it happened, right? And today a large amount of sale, or not a large, but a substantial amount of sale is happening online through various digital platforms. There are a lot of digital, I would say, softwares which are available, which helps take care of this. The other biggest place where, or the area where the technology plays an important role is construction. For us, we sell a house today, we lock in the sale price today, but the delivery has to happen over a period of 7 to 8 years. So today we have to lock up profitability or cost for our product which is being sold today but would be built over a period of 7 to 8 years, which will see a lot of fluctuation, maybe because of war, because of anything else. How do you ensure that the profitability is taken care of? So again, the technology plays a very important role today. In real estate, the biggest thing is estimation. How do you estimate what's the cost of constructing this building, a light or a bulb or a pipe which will be going in? Today, sitting in a corner room, how would you estimate it? So I see that technology has played a very important role out there. Because of that, the costs are coming under control. I think from the finance side, our specialization field, we would have never ever imagined that the audit and the balance sheet could have been finalized and we could have satisfied the auditors to the T, sitting at home, auditor sitting at his home, and we sitting up till the time, like with due respect to them, your blood is not being sucked, still the balance sheet is got closed and the audits have happened, but that started happening now. And this has seen that because of this technology, the remote teams have come up. Now the teams are sitting in one corner of the country, not so expensive location, but the work is happening. So right from all aspects of sales, construction, and planning and all. And for us in real estate, cash flow is the most important aspect. So if you have a visibility of what my sales would be, what my construction cost would be, what my timelines would be, it would become more important or more beneficial to prepare a cash flow and plan the activities accordingly and pass on the benefits not only to the company but to the customers as well. So I feel a lot of changes are happening, a lot of things are happening, and everyone has to adopt technology the way it is going on.
So Girish, question I asked Zehen pe, if you permit, I can ask you.
Please.
So abhi itna we were talking about green homes and green buildings and everything, and I'm sure a lot of work is happening given this overhang of ESG also. So I mean, will that become a reality that 40% of your sales will become green buildings? Are customers ready to pay for those extra things which you do to have sustainability and everything going in, or is it still a fluff, a bit far off this journey in the sense?
So again, I'll take the context of India. I think it's a question which every realtor wants a positive answer to it. But again, what's happening? We are moving towards that journey. I will divide this into two segments. One is a commercial segment wherein your office buildings are there.
Right.
And the second segment would be a residential building. In office sector, this is very much in. We call it as IGB's norm, green building, platinum certified buildings.
Right.
So people are ready to pay more premiums, more rentals for a building which is a platinum certified green building, IGCB norms, what we call it.
Yeah.
But in residential, I think we are moving towards it. We are not yet there, but every builder, every promoter, every developer is trying to adopt whatever technology. Like government is also pushing on that side, water harvesting, green buildings, lights and all, solar panels. So people are working on it. But again, in residential, we are bit far off. But again, given the scarcity of resources and all, I do see that in near future, all this will become a norm. And this will set apart a major developer, a prominent developer with not so prominent developers. Yeah.
That's good.
Thank you.
So while we heard about health and real estate, now let me cover the industrial automation part and move to my friend Pulkit. So Pulkit, what's happening? I mean, we are like EVs, automations across. So if you can just give us your insights.
Sure. Yeah, I can imagine industrial part of automation or technology in industrial businesses is not, of course, touching our daily lives. So I can imagine the curiosity. So if I just try to simplify it, imagine if you're operating, since you gave an example of automobiles, you have several disconnected field devices or the tools, or let's take also example of oil and gas. Those are constantly collecting data, but mechanically. And then you have, in any manufacturing plant, a production control system, and then you have, at the site level, a manufacturing management system. Now, currently, all these things are disconnected, or they are partially connected. So what is basically happening now is, we, of course, cannot replace each of those field devices installed at your plant, which is spreading over hectares or kilometers or meters. So a partial digitalization has started happening depending upon the requirements of the customer. And what is also happening, like companies like Honeywell is developing the tool which is converting the analog data into digital data. And then of course use of Edge. By the way, Edge I had used during my, I would say chartered accountancy days. But I can tell you many industrial automation companies are using Edge as a technology to send those information from those analog device to, as I said, the production management system, and thereby also at the corporate level. So just basically to kind of lay the land clear in front of you. And now if I just give you kind of few examples, so I mean CCTV would be the easiest, I would say, a product for me. It's like a field device, of course also installed here. Now imagine that CCTV is not just capturing the video footage, but is also analyzing constantly if there is any seismic changes, if there are large cloud gathering at one place, or there are unusual people movements to invisible gases, noted in a particular premises. So that's the kind of development that is constantly taking place, and this is what, for me, I would call a digitalization. And maybe another example, the unfortunate accident that has kind of taken place in Ahmedabad, which really, breaks my heart. Honeywell is also developing, continuous monitoring of the engines of the aircraft, thereby also reducing the manual intervention in some of those, safety procedures, mandatory safety procedures which, a pilot will have to undertake. I think this is what I kind of just wanted to keep it also short, looking at the clock, but please, if you have any other question, I'm happy to answer.
Sure, so I'll come back to you. Let me maybe shift the needle to the luxury segment now on the panel, basically, and go over to Khyati. And Khyati at Moet, where heritage meets luxury, and you have a growing demand in India. How have you seen things changing, and what's happening on the innovation side? If you can educate us specific to your industry, it would be great.
Okay, taking a step back to understand how luxury was positioned, or what was the thought behind, and what has changed now. So luxury, especially for how the luxury sector functioned before, it continued to be very heritage, craftsmanship, the quality, the brand story, exclusivity, rarity, super high quality and features is what any product or any service made it luxury, and it stand by it for people to aspire and to cater to affluent kind of sector of community. However, what has changed over past few years and maybe a decade now is the changing consumer preferences, and which has completely shifted gears for any kind of product which is in the luxury segment to think that how do we continue to maintain our brand essence, ethos, global ethos. However, how do we then blend it with local immersion, local initiatives, local culture and values? So this mindset has changed, and the luxury sector has also become very innovative in terms of understanding what a particular market or a country's values are, how they could blend, keeping their heritage story also, keeping their brand's essence also constant, but ensuring that the consumer preferences, their cultures, their values are completely taken care of. The best example from our LVMH group would be, for example, Bulgari coming with beautiful Mangal Sutra, for example, right? Okay. So still very exclusive, still very rare, but so much close to the Indian culture because it's very exclusive for a particular country, because for Indian women, they understand what is the importance, what is the need, how do they embrace. So completely immersing into the local culture is very important. The second innovation, I think the way the marketing communication has changed has evolved, has innovated it completely, again resonating to what the market needs are, what the consumer preferences are. Is there it coinciding or aligning with their, again, cultures, values, emotion, bonds? So rather than now highlighting its features, which is now given, the high quality is given, the focus is more on that emotional bonding. The focus is more on how do we locally ensure that that is taken care of. And again, the reach, right? Digital presence, extremely important, so that people go there, do understand what does the brand stand for, what is its brand story, what its craftsmanship is. However, again, how it has customized and personalized to their particular country, market, or the sector.
Right. So Khyati, maybe a follow-up question, if you permit. Your company also is into single malts and champagnes, right? And so Glenmorangie, so Khyati promised she'll give a discount. So I think I love my weekly days when I get a chance to drink. Spurious liquor is becoming a great challenge. You know, you're not sure whether it's original or not. Do you think any innovation thing can be done to kind of eliminate that? Are you guys working on it? How to make sure that the liquor you buy is original and not spurious? I mean, is there any innovation interfaces?
Yeah, so two things here. Regulatory plays a very important role, especially because it is also luxury, yet a very dark market still in India.
Right.
However, yes, we see a lot of, like you're saying, pilferage and all pilferage coming into play. What is very important and what we are continuously tracking is how close you can be to your customers, leveraging digital presence.
Right.
So you know from where you are buying, is it a right outlet from which you are buying, who are we directly interacting or collaborating with. Any kind of, if you feel any kind of hindrance or any kind of complaints you have or any kind of concerns you have, you definitely reach out to the right person and the brand directly gets in touch with you. Also then tracking, especially on the digital channel and through regulatory channel, on how we could then eliminate these kinds. You know, it's not easy, it's still a long step.
Yeah.
Because whenever we take a step, we already know that they are 2 steps ahead.
Correct.
But I think, yes, it is increasing, especially in the luxury sector, which we've seen. And yes, again, leveraging digitization, how you can digitize, how you can ensure that it is very watertight.
Right.
So, yeah, efforts are in place.
I love that business segment. The price increases, the age increases. Hope it can happen with us also. So let's move to my friend here on the right, Nitin. I mean, after COVID, hotel industry has seen a boom. Was prices so sasta koi milta nahi hai room aajkal, right? And this one area where customer is ready to pay a premium for the kind of services which kind of is offered by the premium hotel chains. So I don't know how many of you know Chalet Hotels runs multiple brands, Marriott's, and I think Nitin will allude to that. So some insights into the hospitality and how innovation is kind of weaving in, and I think one industry where your dollar returns can happen because customers are ready to pay the premium. So can you bring objectivity to your sector, Spurs?
Yeah. So I have been answering this question for long, including the investor questions.
Yeah.
यार बहुत महंगा हो गया, अभी कब नीचे जाएगा? So let me try to give you some flavor around hospitality. So I'm part of K. Raheja Group, the real estate developer. So I am into hospitality. Our business model is we construct hotels and then we give to operators. In return, we have to give them some part of our revenue share. And we have around 11 hotels here. The known ones probably in Mumbai might be the Westin in Powai, Sahar, JW Marriott next to airport, the 4 Point Sheraton. These are the ones which, and the latest one which we have just got in our books is the Dukes in Lonavala. So probably the known names which I'm telling you now. But we have presence in Bangalore, Hyderabad, even in Delhi, Faridabad. Goa, we just bought 2 properties, the Greenfield. So coming back to your question on from a real estate and hospitality, I'll try to just add on what Girish has said specifically from a real estate. So the first benefit which we have got from, especially from a tech perspective, is reducing the time from land to launch. So basically, from a Khyati perspective, we basically deal on 3 pillars. So first one will be, business intelligence in getting the BD right. Either it's a greenfield or brownfield, get the tech right, understand whether it's the right mode to move or, drop it. Once the asset is taken, whether it's a brownfield or greenfield, look at how we can bring in efficiencies in terms of construction, how we can reduce time, cost, increase efficiencies. Third, if we have taken the asset on board, how we can bring in operating efficiency. Now, when I say operating efficiencies is if the hotel room is efficiently built, your staff to room ratio goes down. So that helps. Second is sustainable, bringing in renewable. In all our hotels, we have solar arrangements with all the PPAs. Third is looking at how we can retain talent. Again, we are, we have some innovative stress over there as well. So these are the 3 basic pillars on which we work. The fourth segment, which is again the most important one, is the customer segment. Innovation in that part is still developing. I would say, I remember the physical keys to electronic keys. Now we are looking at face recognition. This actually goes, all the innovation goes as per the consumer preferences. Okay. If you are holding a Marriott Bonvoy membership, we recognize you, we understand, we are trying to understand your food preferences, trying to understand your behaviors. As the entertainment industry moves on, as you enter the room, earlier there was a TV channels, Tata Skies of the world, and now we are moving to OTTs. So you can just cast in the TV. So that's an additional spend. Of course, when you talk about ROI, along goes the ROI as well. And so coming back to your second question on how we also track the ROI of these investments, I think time cost efficiency, TCE normally we call it, how the entire 3 things work on.
Correct.
Second thing is, as my fellow panelist was also pointing out, that now the investments in tech are long-term now. They're not very short-term. They don't give you immediate benefit. Second thing, we are also looking at, I think as the CFOs, whoever was there in the panel, we look at whether the tool is usable or not. There's one side is a capability. The tool is capable. They can do 100 things for you. But whether it is usable for us or not. I'll give you one example. There's, we have been discussing with one tech partner who is using AI for preparing your itineraries. Very difficult, no? Earlier, you remember, you had to call 5 hotels to book. Then we had OTAs. We are bringing, making itineraries to make my trips of the world. And now there are chatbots. So you can actually go and talk to Nitin Khanna, who is again an AI partner for you, as an agent who is bringing or making an itinerary for you. So these are, the techs which have been, getting developed. All in pipeline. So any follow-up questions you have?
You mentioned about face recognition. जैसे Digi Yatra होता है, ऐसा कुछ हो जाएगा. मतलब कि future में you have web check-in into a hotel room and then you
I think,
it's exciting.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Actually, it also brings with more challenges. We have been trying to do some innovative stuff in AI, but there is a DPDP Act. I'm sure everybody in the room might be knowing, and everybody is like looking at it very closely. We have been getting challenges on that part because as hotels, as hospitality partners, we store a lot of your data. Your passport numbers, your face recognition, everything is there in our data. So we have to be very careful.
I know.
If we try to innovate something,
You
but
should be on the right side also.
you're right.
But one small request, go to the innovation to the T. Toilets को छोड़ दो थोड़ा यार. पता ही नहीं चलता कौन सा button दबाना है. So I think let me move on with that interesting discussion. Go back to my friend Girish. Girish, we talk about urban markets. थोड़ा tier 2, tier 3 markets में, is it picking up? And I'll come back to, I think Nitin also on the same thing, that luxury and real estate on the tier 2, tier 3. The demand is there. काफी पैसा है वहाँ पे. आप बताओ what's happening?
Again, the demand across, if you see in India, in real estate is picking up. The quality of the homes or the prices across sector, it's rising, whether it's tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. But you would see a big divide between the developers or the players who are there in tier 1 city and tier 2 and tier 3 city. And the demand largely is due to divide between the commercial segment. While we say that the BPOs and KPOs have reached tier 2 or tier 3 city, and where the talent is. But the fact is, as a matter of study, the people who are there in tier 2 and tier 3 cities, they actually want to come to tier 1 and work out here. So that's the study which was done. Like if we take jobs to the people, to their home, are they willing to stay back and study, do the job there? There is a big reluctance because everyone now wants to stay in an independent and a nuclear family and not be attached to their homes. And they actually are looking to come to tier 1 city, wherein also the option, they get a lot of options, like in case they want to switch jobs or they want to move into different industry, their options are available. So the development overall in tier 1 would always be there, would be very high. Tier 2 and tier 3 city will also see development, that would be upgradation or a second home or a family home or a traditional home which would be there. But again, the divide, we don't see a major gap filling up between a tier 3, tier 2 city with tier 1 city. And in case of urbanization, what is happening? Also one point which is happening is the tier 1 city is expanding.
Yeah.
Mumbai is no longer just like your collaboration of 7 islands. Now Mumbai is like, it is almost touched Pune on this side. And on this side, it's almost touching Gujarat. So when the tier 1 city itself is expanding, like if you can afford a home at the latest deal which has happened at 2.5 lakh rupees square feet at Worli, and then there is another deal happening, say in Kalwa or Mumbai at 2,500 rupees per square feet. So still spending 3,000-4,000 rupees per square feet, you are in Mumbai, maybe 2 hours, and with all this rapidization transportation happening, your tier 1 city is expanding. With urbanization happening, with all the infra happening. So I feel the gap would be there. People would be more willing to come to tier 1 city to work and enjoy the work-life balance, not the work-life balance, they enjoy the, I think the vibes what a tier 1 city and the opportunities what tier 1 city would be giving. I hope I'm able to answer.
Yeah. So I'll also ask Nitin and Khyati tier 2, tier 3 थोड़ा quickly करते हैं. I think Sanjay is giving me side glances. Sanjay, next time थोड़ा time याद दिया करो यार, मतलब कि panel के लिए, because there's so much diversity on the, and we're covering the Bharat, right? So quickly, if you can cover the tier 2, tier 3, and then I'll move to my friend Khyati on the other question.
Yeah, from a hospitality, I think there are a few things which we have seen as a change in the consumer behavior post-COVID. People have started coming out, and I would say coming out and they want to spend outside. The weekend travels have become big, extended weekend. They want to go to a drivable distance, from metros, the tier 1s. And I agree with, Girish when he says they are becoming an extended tier 1 is actually extending along, and they're becoming tier 2, tier 3 cities. Apart from that, they are also ready, the Indians are also ready now, especially the middle class also, to go to the resorts, which are a little afar off as well. So that's the reason we have seen investments, our investments coming in places like Faridabad. Our recent acquisition was in Rishikesh, which is Western Rishikesh. We have bought 2 properties in Goa. Of course, Goa, I don't know whether from a hospitality, whether I should keep it in tier 1 or tier 2, but yes, that's the, investments we have from a capital allocation perspective. I think in your introduction, you also said, look at the tech, look at the internet penetration, from 4%, 52%, we're looking at 82% going in FY30. The GDP growth, we're looking at huge consumption, stable inflation, financial institutions coming in, lot of agri-tech. I remember you talk about agri-tech, a lot of agri-tech. So I think tier 2 and tier 3 has a decent consumption, potential over there. From a hospitality perspective, if you ask specifically from my company, probably we might not be investing more in the medium sector, but there are hotels, hospitality is coming up big in the second segment, I would say. We are in upper upscale, but I think in the second segment, tier 2, tier 3 cities, investments is coming a large.
Khyati, quickly on luxury, tier 2, tier 3, I mean, Bharat grow kar raha hai, demand hai?
No, there is demand. But the thing is, the size of price has still not reached what a tier 1 and an expanded tier 1, like he said, would reach, right? So ROI comes very steadily here. ROI is utmost importance to evaluate what you have versus what you can afford there, because setting up any kind of a retail luxury is of a very different experience, which maybe you can afford, not afford, which might not give you the right ROI. Having said that, the reach is very important. So what happens is increasingly we are partnering with For example, the local experts who would have the right reach, right base, and then it works as best for economies of scale to still be there and meet the demands of those very few affluent kind of people, but yet ensure that your presence is there. And then, like I said, digital presence is already there. So they know if they have a nearby tier 1, they could always go and pick it up.
Sure. So move on to Pulkit. Pulkit, one thing which we often don't speak. We speak about our customers, the innovation which are happening. If you can share your thoughts on how inward when you look to the organization, and we also get challenged at times because teams are very traditional, very naive. So how do you map this desire to innovate for your customer demand to be the world-class leader, and then bring technology inwards and populate or cross-germinate across the organization? So what are the challenges and how do you go about it in this sense?
Sure, that's very, very important question. And I can imagine, I also feel the same pains of, sometimes driving those changes. But, if you ask me, I think it's in our mind when we feel that people don't want to change. I don't think any one of us in the room or also on the dais, when you get up in the morning and say, today I don't want to change. I think people resist when you tell them, this is how I want you to change. So important thing here is, I think, to create that culture of innovation. And I think first thing that I always love to do, and I recall my ThyssenKrupp days, and though the example I would give now is not related to technology, but we had a couple of incidences related to safety. And CFO alongside CEO is also responsible for the safe working environment. And I said, how do I communicate? And actually I bought a pair of safety shoes. I kept it in my room, and also one helmet. And I make sure that whenever I was going to a site, I was carrying my own safety jacket, reflective jacket, as well as the safety shoes, and of course, helmet. So I think leading by example is what the message that I'm trying to drive. And another thing which Honeywell does it, I would say, pretty well, is our slogan, and of course, we are an industrial company, you may not know, it's called, the future is what we make it. So we also try to connect, and I also try to do, in my finance functions or the functions that I kind of interact on a regular basis, that look, this is our motto, and everything that we do has to be looking at the future. So all these topics come on CFO's desk. Why? Because, again, in hindsight, we don't realize, but we are the biggest consumers as finance function of technology. Yeah. And as there is a saying, right, all roads lead to Rome. I think all data leads to CFO's office or the finance function. So anything that will happen within the organization, I'm sure CEO or CIO will say, is my CFO on board on this or not? Because if it is not connected to the finance function, that means it's neither measurable nor reliable.
Wow. So Nithya, I want to just get into your insights of your industry. If you can share something which recently you approved, and as a strategist within your company, you feel proud of it. Any nuggets you can share on real-time examples of innovation which you kind of implemented? It'll be good to get a practical example in front of the audience in this sense. Yeah.
Sure, happy to. See, we are generally, our services always has a technology element. So while we are very, very excited about AI more recently, there's always been RPA and ML and AI that's been available, and it's something that we have been deploying for a while.
Right.
But that being said, I think the transformation that AI and now agentic AI can achieve is much faster than before. So I'll call out one example that I'm personally very excited about.
Okay.
It sounds like rocket science to me, and that's the reason for the excitement. So when it comes to US provider organizations, one of the agentic AI use case that we're deploying is supposed to look at the entire workflow of the provider organization, everything in the front office, mid office, back office. It's supposed to identify specific nudges and provide the specific nudges to the right person at the right time to be able to maximize the revenue for the provider organization. So to give you an example, our tool should be able to read all the diagnostic test scores of a patient, extract from the EMR, EHR, all the diagnosis and treatment plans that's been provided. Let's say there is a diabetic asking for an appointment. The tool is actually supposed to pick up that, hey, I saw his creatinine score. It's important that you also have a conversation about his kidney function. Right? And this is a nudge that you provide to the doctor. And this way, one, the doctor is able to provide the right care and therefore get a higher reimbursement from the payer. So the payer will obviously pay you more if you're treating for diabetes and kidney function. And of course, you're improving patient outcome as well. Right? So all of this with the objective of eventually improving and maximizing revenue and improving the productivity of the doctor. But the tool actually has the ability to read the data to maximize that one function that you want. Right? There are several such examples. But I think this is the one that I'm most excited about.
Wow. Great. So I think very insightful. I think personally I'm very enriched listening across luxury, healthcare, infra, automation. Let me throw the floor open for the audience. If there are any questions, I think we may have time for 3 or 4 questions. And if in case you want to ask a question, please introduce yourself and also target which panelist member you want to ask the question to. So over to you. If there are mics on the floor, if anybody wants to ask a question, please raise hand. Yeah, the gentleman over there. So if you can stand up so that everybody can see you also, it'll be great. Yeah. Yeah, the mic is there, sir. Yeah.
Yeah, my question is to Girish. So Girish, I also work with real estate. And just want to know your perspective on the automation in the sales and marketing. Okay, how automation can help for streamlining our sales and marketing expenses, what we do in real estate.
Absolutely, I think big time. What is, so, again, automation is going big time across everywhere. For me, the biggest thing sales happens is one person at the desk is selling something to a customer. By the time it reaches me or by the time the delivery happens, whether whatever is promised to the customer on the selling table, is it being recorded and it is being given to you or not? So I think the automation plays a very important role. Right now what we have done is like, just giving a small example, when you go and buy a house, आप उसको बोलते हो कि मेरे को ये marble, while if customization is there, I don't want this white color marble, or I don't want this wooden flooring, instead of wooden flooring, rip it out and give me a basic marble only, whatever is there. At the time of selling, we know all sales guy will say yes, 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 but it has to get recorded. How do you ensure that in a project where there are 2,000 units to be sold, every information which is sold to the customer is getting recorded? And brands like Piramal wants to live under, all the brands like Piramal and all, want to live under the promise what is being given. But most important thing is how that information is passed on that side. So from the customer side that happens. From the selling side, as I mentioned, during the COVID period, we reached out to the customers outside and the flat was sold at that time, right? So those innovation is there. Now we have real-time accounting. A customer can just, I think these are all the basic things. A customer can just go and view the account live, what kind of things are there. The progress can be viewed live. The cameras are installed at every places and all. Marketing, there is like, you have to just say, the marketing guys then comes to me and says that I want to spend. If I ask him how much, he will say that just open a checkbook, I can spend anything what you want. And it's all digital, majorly. So digital marketing has reached to a different level altogether. You can view a house, before the inception or before you buy, you can see how your house will look like. So I think in digital, in sales or marketing, there is no end to it. How much ever you spend is less. But day by day, I think you are required to spend, and whatever you spend, it will give you a return on the period of time. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, we have a gentleman on the front table over here. The front table first? Okay, so we'll come back to you, sir. We'll come back to you. So if you...
Hi, my question is to Nitin Khanna. So I'm ex-CFO of Club Mahindra and retired from Club Mahindra and working with Club Mahindra on a consultation basis.
Sure.
Helping them in resort efficiency improvement. So Nitin, in an ideal situation, what should be the cost of acquisition? Because you acquire customer, so does other operators. And they pay a lot of commission, their infrastructure cost, there's a sales team cost. And the value which you generate, out of that value, certain amount of the cost is going to acquire the customers. And actual value is not is going to OTA or infrastructure. So according to you, what should be the actual spending on cost of acquisition?
You're talking about from a customer perspective.
Yes, yes.
Correct.
So when you acquire customer, so in your case, say it will be a FIT customer or walk-in customer, or your types with some corporate, right? You have infrastructure, you have your own team to sales, you have OTA commission being paid, right? So what should be the cost of acquisition?
You're not doing benchmarking, no, by the way.
No, I'm not doing benchmarking.
Anyway, I'm
I'm
not
not doing
answering that. Anyway, not answering that. I'll give you an answer. I'll tell you, I'll give you an answer
Yeah,
around
thank
that.
you.
So whatever is there in the public domain, if you look at my investor report, you will get those answers, but I'll still spell out for your benefit. So our business model is basically, I'll again repeat that we construct and we give it to the operator. So 80% of our hotels are actually operated by Marriott. Marriott charges us a commission on a top line as well as on a GOP, which is gross operating profit. My EBITDA margins are at around 45%. For us, the efficiency comes from 3 factors, which I again repeat. One, we build big boxes. We don't deal in anything which is below 100 rooms. I'm talking more from a comparison from the industry which you come from, so that you can correlate. I hope you can correlate now. Secondly, we don't go into any hotels where the EBITDA margin is less than 25 CR. Third, my ROCE has to be 12% plus. If these 3 filters gets crossed, then only I'll get into a greenfield or a brownfield, potential greenfield or brownfield. This is so far as my cost of acquisition is concerned. Coming from a efficiency cost, my staff to room ratio is 1. Taj works around, my competitors, I won't call it their names, but they work on much higher, 1.62. My HLP ratio, when you talk about the power, I use renewable power in all my hotels. So if my landed discom is coming to around 18 or 19 rupees from MSC DCL perspective, we might be getting around 75% at the cost. So there's a saving around that. And the third part is the staff cost. And when we look at staff cost, we look at how we can look at the entire retention cycle. So these are the factors which impact my, or increase my EBITDA by that extra 4-5%. I hope I've answered your question in a different manner.
Okay, thank you.
So I think we're running out of time. The pretty lady standing over there is waving me, Mr. Bhatia, kind of. I think there was a question, maybe we can take it offline. We'll be here and we can connect over lunch. I think on behalf of the entire audience and the organizers, let me thank each one of you sitting on the panel for your lovely insights and getting into the nitty-gritties of your own industries. I think personally it was quite enriching for me. So a big round of applause for the people who are there. And thank you so much, Sanjay, for inviting us. Thank you so much.